Yes, sir. We are live. Let me just quickly make sure that I am. Am I going live? Oh, go live on X. Okay. I can't go live on X because I don't have a premium account on there. Wow, we just ruined the intro to the live show. But welcome everyone. It's been a couple months back, but boy, have we got a exciting show for you guys tonight. Mainly because we are talking Niners, and it is that kind of season again where it's going to start getting interesting. Talking Niners, like, this is the point of the season where the Niners are in it late. Last year, we weren't having this same kind of conversation because the Niners were not in it late. They were 6-11 last year, and there wasn't a lot to look forward to. But this year, we've got meaningful football in the month of December and January, which makes the conversation I'm about to have very exciting, and the games going forward very exciting. I think there are things that this team still needs to show, things that this team has shown in the previous games, but I think there are some concerns that maybe just haven't been exposed yet because the Niners haven't played a opponent that can expose those weaknesses. So today we're getting into realistic rest of season goals for the 49ers, playoff scenarios, like kind of going through if we got the first seed, who we would meet first, second, or second, third round. And then players that the 49ers can go out and get this offseason that will change the trajectory of this team. So let's go first. Realistic rest of season goals for the 49ers. And I've gone back and forth on this one. Do they make a Super Bowl? Is a Super Bowl kind of in the realm of possibility? And I'm gonna say no, because one of the things that I think is going to have to happen, obviously, the first seed. You're gonna have to get the first seed. And if you get the first seed, there's a very good chance of you making the Super Bowl. But I think a lot of people are overlooking the next three games. Now, maybe not overlooking the next three games because the Colts, Bears, and Seahawks are a tough three games. But I really wanted to highlight the Bears game because I think some teams might not be giving the Bears their respect, especially 49ers fans. Some 49ers fans might not be giving the Bears their respect. The Bears just went out and beat a Packers team who I don't think the Packers are anything special, but the 49ers have also we have proven nothing. We have proven that we haven't proven that we can actually beat a playoff team. We've beaten our 10 wins this year. Two of them are against playoff teams. That's the Seahawks and the Rams, both divisional opponents. So yes, this next Bears game, now we've still got the Colts, but this Bears game is at home, but it's also against a much tougher opponent than we have faced. I also want to say I am impressed from what I've seen from Caleb Williams to obviously the play calling of Ben Johnson. I think a lot of times the Niners can kind of get by on like, we have more talent than you, but we also have better coaching than you. When we face that Bears team, I don't think that, well, obviously the coaching is about equal. I think Kyle Shanahan and Ben Johnson are equal as far as like play calling goes. So to say that the 49ers I think the only way we make the Super Bowl is if we get the number one seed. And that means we obviously win out. But that means we have to beat a team like the Bears. And like I said before, it's Caleb Williams. The fact that he has that big play ability. Now, yes, he is inconsistent at times, but the fact that he has that big playability really scares me because we have a team that's missing I guess, a community, like a more, because Fred Warner was able to communicate with the rest of the defense so well, was able to read coverages or what the offense was throwing at him so well that the 49ers always seemed like they were on time on defense when they had Fred Warner. Without Fred Warner, I feel like a lot of times you're seeing these blown coverages, even last week against the Titans, like Gunnar Helm, wide open. There was a couple plays wide open. One of them where he caught a wide open pass 30 yards downfield for a touchdown. There are just plays in games now where the 49ers defense does not seem on time and playing on time and knowing what the offense is throwing at them. And that's what kind of makes me so scared, especially when we face the Bears, is that if you miss a coverage, blow a coverage, like D. Winters, and I mean, Tatum Bethune, getting him back at linebacker will help, but if you miss a coverage, blow a coverage like Tatum Bethune and D. Winters are kind of known to do, especially D. Winters, then Caleb Williams is going to kill you because he has that big play arm, that big play ability. On top of the fact that that Bears team has a good run game with Monungai and DeAndre Swift. If he plays, DeAndre Swift has been in and out of the injury report, but they have a run game that can kill you and a quarterback who, yes, is inconsistent, but can also kill you down the field. So I don't think that game is going to be a cakewalk. And I think we actually potentially lose that game. Even though it is at home, I think we potentially lose that game. The defense for the Bears is going to be able to get stops. And I just think that there are going to be a couple plays during that game where the defense slips up. And if I've gotten to the point now where if the 49ers offense doesn't score 20 to 30 points a game, it's, I think, wraps, especially when you face a team with an elite run game like the Bears do have and an elite passer who can make throws downfield. Now, this is all about a little bit foresighted because, or I guess looking way into the future, because we do have the Colts coming up. And so I did want to quickly preview the Colts game and kind of what to look for there. I think the biggest thing when we're talking about the 49ers versus Colts is the Niners, you know that Phillip Rivers isn't going to push the ball more than 10 yards downfield. So it's going to be imperative that the 49ers take away the check down pass to Jonathan Taylor. And here's something that, like, even against the Browns that they struggled against Quinshon Judkins, the Niners really struggled to take away the check down, and maybe getting Tatum Bethune back at linebacker will help. But if the 49ers in this game struggle to take the check down away from an elite running back in Jonathan Taylor and struggle to stop the run on a consistent basis, then I don't know how we even beat the Colts, because I think the Colts defense is good enough to keep the Niners with under 24 points. And if they can at least score, 17, 20 points, it could be this game tomorrow could be a game. It could be a very competitive game, because if they can get stops on our offense and rely on the check down, and we cannot shut down that part of Phillip Rivers' game, then it's almost pack it up. Now, and that's something that we've really struggled with. That is something that going forward in the year, if the Niners are going to make a playoff push, a Super Bowl push, they have got to clean up stopping the run. They can't allow 5 yards of carry anymore, and they have to clean up the check down. I don't think that that's actually going to happen. I do think we beat the Colts, because if we can load the box, we put 9 guys in the box and really, force Phillip Rivers to make tight window throws. I think there are going to be a couple instances during that game where he's going to throw a pick or something, or we're going to escape with a win. But the rest of, with making a playoff push, you also are going to face elite quarterbacks, elite teams that are going to expose a lot more weaknesses and stretch the field a lot more. Now, one of the things with so how do we make this playoff push? How do we make this Super Bowl push? And I wanted to go over some playoff scenarios. So let's start with if we get the number 1 seed, right? So we get the first round bye, we get the number 1 seed. Right now, currently, as it stands, the Panthers are the 4 seed. They just beat the Buccaneers today. Now they play the Buccaneers again, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the Panthers are the 4 seed. Now at the 5 seed, I believe if we were to beat the Seahawks, win out, I believe the 5 seed right now would be the Seahawks, because they have the tiebreaker over the Rams. So if the Seahawks were to be the 5 seed, now were to beat the Panthers, so I guess I could maybe share my screen and show you guys, but if it would be the Panthers versus Seahawks for 4 versus 5 seed first round. Seahawks obviously win that game. And then the Rams, I would say, obviously would be the 6 seed playing the 3 seed. At this point, it's probably going to be the Eagles. I think the Rams walk away with that one as well. The 7 seed would be Bears versus like either Packers or what's so weird about this year is that the NFC is so stacked that I could see the 5, 6, and 7 seed all winning. The Packers beating the Bears, the Rams beating the Eagles, and the Seahawks beating the Panthers, if that's how the 5, 6, and 7 seed were to fall. Now, there's one thing. We either play the Seahawks the first round or we play the Rams. Let's just say the Bears beat the Packers, the 2 seed beats the 7 seed, and they advance. So we'd either be playing the 6, 5, or 6 seed, whoever won their game. Let's say, so second round, coming off the bye, you're either going to have to play the Seahawks or the Rams. Am I confident that we're going to run into one of those teams at least during the playoffs? Am I confident that we can beat them? And the answer is not really. Obviously, this topic will have more light shed on it as the 49ers go on and face these tougher teams as they face the Seahawks. If they can beat the Seahawks, then maybe I have more confidence. But right now, as it stands, do I expect the Niners to beat a team like the Seahawks or the Rams in the playoffs? No, and that's because they cannot get consistent pressure. We saw that with Matthew Stafford earlier in the year. We were able to let him just sit back and dice up our defense. And if we face the Rams again in the playoffs and let him do that, it's over, because Matthew Stafford, the only time he looks like a human is if you can somewhat generate a pass rush. But the reason why I don't think the 49ers are a Super Bowl team this year is if they can generate a pass rush. Another thing that's one scenario. If we get the 1 seed, we're going to either be playing the Rams or the Seahawks. And then you might actually have to play them both, because if you beat, like, let's say the Rams and then the Seahawks beat the Bears, then you'll play the Seahawks the second round. Now, I'm more confident that we can beat the Seahawks than the Rams, because I think the Rams have a quarterback or the Seahawks have a quarterback who, I mean, let's just be honest. I think when I look back at that Seahawks versus Rams game on Thursday night, I think that if they were to play that game again, the Rams would win, clearly. It was, the only reason why the Seahawks saw a chance in that game is because Rashid Shaheed returned a punt for a touchdown. And then you had, I want to say, what was it again that happened? Something other, the 2-point conversion that bounced in the end zone, the weird 2-point conversion tied it up. And so I think Sam Darnold proved that he's a clutch quarterback, but when you're throwing 2 picks like he did and how bad those throws were, I honestly think that Sam Darnold in the playoffs, we could maybe beat him because he's going to make 1 or 2 picks. So if we play the Seahawks, I'm a little bit more confident, but avoid the Rams at all costs. That's all I'm going to say. Another thing that's going to aid in a Super Bowl run if Ricky Pearsall stays healthy. Now, that's another big question mark. That's another thing where, like, maybe in year 3 he finally figures it out, gets a stronger body. But it's like every time we need to, like, I feel like every Super Bowl team that makes the Super Bowl at least has one receiver that they can go to, that they can feature. And obviously we have George Kittle. That's one key for making the Super Bowl. Feature George Kittle as many times as possible, because he's an all-time great tight end. And they have to get him the ball, obviously. But is there a second guy? Is there a second weapon that will make the 49ers offense more explosive and stand out? And I could say, I mean, Ricky Pearsall, when he plays, when he gets targets, looks really good. Last week, he had like 8 catches for 90 yards. Looked like a Brandon Ayuk-esque type of performance. But the problem is now he re-injured his PCL. And so the thing with him is every time it seems like you give him more than 5 or so targets, he gets injured again. And so it's really a big thing that I just don't know if they're going to make a playoff run, is because Ricky Pearsall re-injuring that knee, can he stay healthy? And he really is. If we're going to make this run, you really need more than just George Kittle and obviously Christian McCaffrey. But Christian McCaffrey, the running game, like he's only averaging like 3.5 yards per carry this year. And so except from Christian McCaffrey, obviously as a receiver out of the backfield, he's done great with that. And George Kittle, what's a third option you can go to? And it needs to be Ricky Pearsall. I don't know if it's going to be Ricky Pearsall. They obviously like find a pass rush, already covered that. Will they have a consistent solution at linebacker? And I kind of already covered that as well, but Luke Gifford being on the field is not a solution at linebacker. It's just not. He can't cover a blade of grass. Get him off the field. So if Tatum Bethune comes back, but even D Winters gets exposed. Like he's a very good closing linebacker who has closing speed, but a lot of times you see him just get lost because he can't consistently read what the offense is throwing at him. And so even D Winters is going to get beat in games. And in the playoffs, if you have 1 or 2 plays where you get beat for a touchdown, then it might be over. The game might be over. So can the 49ers get a consistent solution, consistent quality play at linebacker? And I don't know if you have the players, because I really like Tatum Bethune, but I don't necessarily like what D Winters brings to the team as far as coverage goes. And that's just going to be a weakness that we've had to live with. But again, it's like when you look at who we've played the last couple weeks, yes, the winning streak is nice and we've taken care of business, but we also just haven't played a team that can necessarily expose what we are, what the defense is. Now, the Titans kind of did, which is scary because the Titans are one of the worst teams in the NFL, but we were able to outscore them. The question is, do you trust the 49ers to outscore a team like the Seahawks with a top defense in the playoffs? I don't know. So we've just got to see better, more consistent pass rush linebacker play out of the defense. Something that I'm not sure. It's less of to me, it looks like less of a schematic issue. Like the coaching is really good, less of a schematic issue and more of a talent issue. And a talent issue you really just can't fix because we've had so many injuries and there's not a guy that we could go and get magically that's going to improve all of this. So yeah, it's something that's kind of sad because I think with Fred Warner, with Nick Bosa, with Mykel Williams, we could have competed this year, but I think the Niners are just so depleted that it's coming down to less, like I said, less of a schematic and more of like a talent issue. And that's going to be something that I think bites us in the butt. Now, where do we ultimately end? I think divisional round is probably the most realistic, maybe championship if we get the number 1 seed. But I just don't know, like Super Bowl, you run into the Rams on the way there and you can't generate a pass rush and it's over. And if Devontae Adams is open or available, like the Rams, the biggest thing with them is if Devontae Adams can stay healthy, I think they're still the top team in the NFC. And even if he can't, I mean, Puka Nacua was balling last game. So let's see what were we also okay. So players that the Niners can go out this offseason that will change the trajectory of this team. Now, yes, I think the Niners run defense, when you have Mykel Williams, when you have what's the guy that we got from Texas in the second round, when you have him, when you have obviously Mykel Williams and some of the other guys that we drafted really well this last draft. When you have those guys, we stop the run really well. But do we have much of an interior pass rush? Because that's one thing that like Mykel Williams has not shown much of while he played. And then can he even stay healthy? So one guy I really wanted the Niners to go out and get is John Franklin Myers from the Denver Broncos. 13.2% win percentage when he's rushing the passer. He not only can he stop the run, but he can also provides a much needed pass rush from the interior. And he's a guy 6'4", 288 pounds. Like, he's not like we got, who wasn't in the past that we got from the Eagles that was a defensive tackle who was a really good pass rusher but couldn't necessarily stop the run. John Franklin Myers can. 82nd percentile as far as like his win rate percentage at 13.2%, 34 pressures on the year, which is 18th among defensive tackles, and 6 sacks. So John Franklin Myers, big guy, will clog up the hole, but also provides a little bit of a pass rush for you in the middle. And obviously, you guys have probably seen this guy, this rumor and this name thrown around as a guy that 49ers could potentially trade for. But, I mean, man, wouldn't you love it if we could go out and get an A.J. Brown, like, from the Eagles? Now, I don't think that's actually happening. I don't think he's leaving. But here's kind of the conclusion that I came to is you look at the Niners picks, like let's just say like the first round pick is like a guaranteed guy that you can come in and start potentially right away. Like if you look at the history of this team, there's really not like guys past the second round that have just come in and started right away. And I know that next year is going to be a major year where I don't know, like the receiving core at this point is not enough on the Niners. We've got Ricky Pearsall, we've got Jawan Jennings, and who else, right? So can we re-sign Jawan Jennings? But I would like us to go get another guy than Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. And maybe that's drafting somebody. But who's the guy that you can draft that's going to be a guaranteed stud except from round one? And I don't want the Niners to go and draft a receiver round one. So, yeah, I mean, John Franklin Myers. And then I'm currently looking, like, probably future shows will probably be on maybe looking at some tackles we can draft. I just wonder, like, when is the day that Trent Williams is going to retire? Is that next year? Is it the year after? If so, it's like, okay, you look at players around the league that we can trade for. And I also just look at, like, when we traded for Trent Williams, how rare that was that a Hall of Fame left tackle is just available on the market. That really doesn't come too often. And I was looking around at, like, top tier left tackles that we can draft, and I'm just like, or that we can trade for, and I'm just like, there's really no one. Like, Trent Williams really is an all-world left tackle, but there's really no one that we could even trade for that, like, that's moving me, that we can actually, like, that I'm actually excited and being like, this guy could replace Trent Williams. So it means you kind of have to go through the draft, and then you have to almost spend a first round pick if you want a guy who's guaranteed potentially to come in day one and start. So the point, like, the thing that I think, like, why I don't think Trent Williams is retiring next year is I almost feel like we would have drafted somebody last year to kind of either play left guard or just be the swing tackle for a year while Trent Williams kind of shows him the ropes. So I don't think he's retiring next year, but who knows? And then, but I mean, even so, like, I do think that's, if I were predicting, I think this is the year that we finally draft a left tackle, because even though Kyle Shanahan doesn't like to make the offensive line a priority of his at all, I still do think, like, a left tackle is, for him and for the way he likes to do things, is still a very important position. That if Trent Williams, if they do get a whiff of him retiring, it's either we're trading for some top guy and giving up a ton of picks, or we're drafting someone. So I just haven't gotten into a ton of the prospects, but that will definitely be something that I will do in the future. What up, Ben Grandizer? It's been a while. Man, you are growing so fast. Yes. How have you been? Good. Going right now on college, my break for college. I'm running collegiately at Wingate University, a school in North Carolina, and having a ton of fun doing that, trying to get good grades and trying to get like internships. I'm going to be, I want to be a sports reporter, broadcaster. So kind of doing what I do now, just at a higher scale and probably more of a quality scale. But yeah, right now I'm break, so I have some time to do shows, and I might keep this going throughout the year with some guests. I need to get some guests on as well. But I've been good. Have you played with the NFL playoff simulator and see how the 49ers make it to the playoffs? I mean, no, I actually haven't. That would be a good idea. I think, well, we have one win and we're in. So if we beat the Colts, we've clinched the playoffs. And then I know if we win out, we get the first seed. So CG Ruthless pointed out the 49ers did draft O-line, but they just are not panning out to replace Trent Williams. They kind of have addressed O-line. They said, we're going to go in the 6th round. I don't know why my nose is dripping so bad. We're going to go in the 6th round, and they drafted, what's that terrible left guard who's played for us, and he's just been awful. But they've said, the Niners have said, we'll draft in the 6th round and say that we fixed our offensive line. Like, yeah, they've made some low round picks that haven't panned out, but we've spent 6th and 7th round picks. I want to see us get like a 1st round potential blue chip prospect. Now, I don't know if there's that guy in this draft, but yeah. Like in some cases, drafting an LT early on, play him at a left guard and move him to left tackle. Yeah. And that's what I think. Like, I'm looking even at left guards, or even guys that, maybe have short arms or not the exact measurables, that can maybe play left guard for us. LT, I don't know what does he mean by LT after trying to retires or is cut. 2 weeks ago, so it's sort of new, as you might know. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. But that's almost about the rest of my show, kind of coming on here and talking Niners. I want to get a guest on as well, so I'm working on that. But definitely trying to be more consistent, just because I love talking football, but at times haven't had the time to do it. So yeah, we do devalue the offensive line big time. And that's, I think, Colton McKivitz having a good year, and that's fine, having a bunch of skill position players, but at the same time, like, having a guy, like, we can't say, oh, the offensive line, it's almost just a tired conversation. Oh, the offensive line, the interior is terrible every year, or in this offensive line is terrible. And it's the same conversation. And I don't even like talking about the offensive line because it's the same conversation every single year. It's, oh, the offensive line is terrible. Well, what picks did the 49ers and free agents did we go out? And obviously, and that's what's so tough about the offensive line is, like, I think free agency is kind of a joke when it comes to getting offensive linemen, because you're probably overpaying for a guy that the team doesn't even want anyway. So you really have to address it through the draft, but that's kind of what we've lacked in doing. And honestly, Colton McKivitz, Trent Williams haven't played bad. Pooney hasn't played bad, but it's really that center and left guard position that, there are times when you just look and they're just getting blown off the ball as soon as the ball is snapped. And it's terrible. So anyways, guys, it has been a good night. I'll probably try to be back on Wednesday to react to tomorrow's game. And then I really want to have a guest on to preview the Bears game, because I think that's going to be a pivotal game that, man, I've been looking at it. I'm like, oh, when the Seahawks beat the Rams, I was like, sweet, now all we have to do is win out. We've already beaten the Seahawks. We're good. And then I was looking at that Bears game, and that Bears game, the more I look at it, I'm like, ooh, they pose like not a great matchup for us. That could be a game that we slip up on. So, Caleb Tiernan. Day 2, early day 3. Okay, I'll look him up. I was looking at day 1, guys, that we would get in round 1, because I think if Trent Williams does end up retiring, I don't think Kyle plays with the left tackle position at all. I think he takes that actually very seriously, and I think if we were to address the left tackle position, we need to go out and get a guy who is going to be able to start day 1 and look very good day 1. And I think you're only going to find that in round 1, most likely. But I am not a scout. So anyways, guys, have a good rest of your night. This has been a fun 30 minutes. And a fun stream back. So you guys have a good night and take care.